Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're back talking all things real estate. And today, this is all proposed, but we want to talk about what may be coming up.
Right. So we talked about this at length in a previous video about BC banning short-term rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs, anything like that. So banning these short-term rentals is going to crash the condo market. You know what? I keep seeing these headlines. I keep seeing these videos of so many people talking about this. And am I the only person that thinks like this? Like, maybe I'm not contrarian. You know, sometimes, I don't know. Wait a minute. There's evidence to suggest all of these rules that are being brought in. We'll do a quick recap.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make a difference to anything.
Well, I think, yeah, for sure. I would agree with you, because if we look at what happened with, let's back up. What did the rescission period do for us?
Give us more paperwork.
Right. But did it actually do anything? Because no, we've passed out of this unconditional offers. The market took care of it. Right.
And maybe in the future we'll re-enter a market where it's multiple offers and people are behaving in such a way.
Maybe.
So let's pause.
So continuing on from there, what about the removal of rental restrictions on strata? Did that help with getting rid of the rental issues?
No, we still have the rent still went up from last year.
Right.
That came into legislation in BC in November sometime last year that I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have rents gone up or down? Up. Yes,
right.
Exactly. So that didn't help. Do you have any more?
Yeah, there's one more. It'll come to me in a second here.
Okay.
It was right there, and then it just...
Interrupt me then.
Yeah.
So the quick recap, BC, the province of BC wants to ban Airbnbs. Airbnb, that's a brand name, that's a company, whatever. But they want to ban short-term rentals in residential properties.
Right.
So the first one is they don't want to have like a full house used like a hotel room.
Right.
Number one. And then the protections for non-conforming use of property will no longer apply to short-term rentals. What does that mean, right? Well, there are buildings in BC, I know especially in Victoria, where the condos had specific zoning allowing them to do it exactly just that, to have short-term rentals. And so that's what they're talking about. They're talking about removing that allowance. So, so I know it's a little bit like I got you on a clickbait. Hey, condo market's going to crash, and these rules are supposed to be proposed and come into effect starting May 1st.
May 1st, yeah.
The penalties are applicable immediately. So the penalties for this right now are $1,000 a day of an infraction. And it's gone up to $3,000 a day. There's more to it than that, but I'm not going to get into that. So I have a case study, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons that are all going to be wrapped around my case study. Okay? How do you like this?
Okay.
And my case study subject is Victoria, British Columbia.
Okay.
It's an actual place. It's not made up. It's not like when you're learning like for your real estate exam and they're like make up like ABC Townville or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. No, it's a real place. So I have a hard time thinking that this will make any difference at affecting the market. Will it make it a little bit more supply? Maybe. I think there's a lot of other factors to go into it if the market's going to crash.
Sure.
All right, so let's get on with it. So the first rule that came up was full-time residences will not be allowed, or no, a whole house will not be allowed to be used as a hotel. Okay?
Okay.
Guess what? Most municipal bylaws don't allow this already.
Sure.
Since the dawn of time, I mean the incorporation of the municipality or township or city. This is a very common bylaw. It's you would find it under allowable home-based businesses, and
Sure.
under that bylaw. Now, I'm generalizing because some will be a little bit different. Victoria might be a little bit different from Langley, Abbotsford, wherever, right? A certain amount of percentage will be allowed of the home to be allowed to use as your home-based business, whatever business that is, under those allowances in that municipality. So that could be 25%, 30%, 20% of the total square footage of the house.
Right.
Or they might count a maximum amount of rooms.
Right.
This rule has already been there.
Right.
So the provincial government announcing this really is just like making a rule without reading what previous rules are there already.
Sure.
Okay.
Perhaps their methodology is, well, if we have a bigger bat to enforce, i.e. $1,000 a day, maybe we'll get more mileage out of it.
Bigger bat. I have something to say about that later. Bigger bat.
Okay.
I like that. But there are exemptions to this. So anywhere outside of the major centers,
Yeah, 10,000 or less, right?
a population of 10,000 or less, or unless it's like a 15-minute drive or 15 kilometers, I can't remember what it said because I'm not really worried about it, won't be affected under this. Okay, great. Number 2, we talked about the protections from non-conforming use of property will no longer apply to short-term rentals. Guess what? Victoria, my case study, they did away with this already in 2017. But they were sensitive to people's investments, and they allowed people they grandfathered the rule up until they were not in operation for 6 months.
Okay.
Now, where's my bigger bat? How many bats do I need to enforce this, police this? I think people just continued on until they get caught.
Until you get caught. Yep.
Because I don't think anybody's stopped using it.
Really, the bottom line is enforcement. And enforcement isn't going to happen unless there's a complaint.
You reading my notes? Okay. So we talked about fines in the recap. Victoria already has fines for non-compliance. That's number 3. Number 4, Strata Property Act. So anybody who has a condo, townhouse, strata duplex, I guess a strata duplex and condo, you might be able to do a room as long as it's still your primary residence.
Yeah.
And you can use partly.
Right.
But there's some wordage around the use of that in the Strata Property Act, and it prohibits the commercial use or uses not intended to its original build, like its residential zoning.
Okay.
So the Strata Council already has the ability to enforce and fine owners that do not comply with the rules. That's number 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap this up real quick now, right? Number 5, it's the big bat. This is the problem with most municipalities. How many illegal suites are out there? I mean, not illegal suites like you have an illegal suite and the illegal suite police are going to come to get you. Okay, non-conforming, they don't comply with the zoning laws or whatever.
The roof's not 6'5" in the basement.
Right, so many people, and especially that we have they like to say housing crisis, right? And I think it's a chronic problem. All of these things are complaint driven. If the neighbor doesn't complain that, they're too noisy, there's too many cars, whatever the case may be, bylaw officer's not coming.
Right.
So, I think the past 5 years would indicate behavior.
Yeah.
Unless the provincial government comes up with this short-term rental squad to go through everything. What are the bylaw enforcement has? Noise complaints, illegal suite complaints, I don't know, parking infractions, what are whatever else is on the bylaws, right? So they're busy.
Yeah.
And now you're going to dump 600 short-term rentals that are in non-compliance in Victoria, BC.
Right.
How many people are going to take to enforce all of this, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's more, and I'm going to throw up a graph so you could see exactly what I'm talking about. So in 2017, we had this removal of transient zoning.
Yeah.
As an example.
Yeah.
The average price for a condo in 2017 was $425,000. Now I'm going to jump up to where our height of the market was. So this didn't flood, all of these things didn't flood the market with condos. Yes, there's houses as well that were in that.
Sure.
But mostly it was like a lot of condos.
Yeah.
The 23 buildings that lost their transient zoning status, in 2022, the average price for a condo was $650,000.
Okay.
Now, since 2022, what happened, right? Interest rates have gone up.
Yeah.
That's affected people's buying ability.
Sure.
And today, as of whatever the end of September was, because we don't have October's numbers yet, September 2023, 584,500. So we still had $160,000 increase in the past 5 years, and Victoria, the Strata Property Act, and the bylaws were all there since the dawn of time.
Sure. Yeah.
So those are the 5 reasons why I don't think all of a sudden the market's going to be flooded with condos or houses that were being used as short-term rentals. I think they might be repurposed. I think some people won't even listen to the news. What if it's like a non-resident? Like they don't live in Victoria, they live in Ontario, Montreal, somewhere else, and they're just not paying attention, right? And then and until maybe they get fined, they might wake up, get their head out of the sand. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying, like, if you're an absentee landlord or business owner, you got your manager here, and you're like, just like making it rain, you might not notice until you get fined.
Certainly.
Right?
It's
Unless you get a
possible.
letter, a warning, something like that.
Yeah.
So if anything, I think it might add some homes, condos to the market, but I don't think it's going to be a huge flood.
Yeah, I don't think it's
or crash the market.
If
like,
the intent
like
is
clickbait.
Sure, if the intent is to deal with rentability and affordable rental and affordable housing and all of that, I'm going to come back to something that I've said repeatedly on this channel. Make it easier for the builders and the developers to get their projects off the ground.
Could you imagine if the government, I totally agree with you. I think that's a long way to go, but I agree. What if the BC government made more incentives to the private landlord? Because right now the rules, I'm not saying tenants don't deserve rights and protections, absolutely do.
Yeah.
But it's so heavy in the direction of tenants that it makes private investors. I don't mean big companies. I mean like mom and pop. They have an extra rental, right? So we wouldn't, as a realtor, we're self-employed. We don't get a pension when we're done this.
Yeah.
So if we buy a rental as an investment and that like funds our retirement, something like that. If there's some kind of incentive for landlords to invest in rental property,
Right.
Whatever that might be, I don't know. I haven't looked into that because I'm not holding my breath that the BC government's going to help.
Yeah.
I said it out loud, right? It's not really their incentive.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I think we'll see what happens in May. I don't think this is going to resolve anything.
What if the home buyer's rescission period, the changing age restrictions, rental restrictions, everything, like a lot of this happens and it's discussed for a year.
Yeah.
And the way it came out when it was first proposed might not be the way it comes out when it's actually implemented.
Yeah.
So we will see by May 1st if that's going to be the actual deadline. Great. Oh, and they have a habit of rolling things out without things being like perfected.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it might not be perfect.
Yeah, I noticed that when we had a bunch of changes to the Real Estate Act, and that's a different story for another day. Oh my goodness!
Was that the not a cartoon, but it was like the Green Giant? Did he say that? Or if I got the wrong cartoon or the wrong kids program,
ho ho ho, the Jolly Green Giant.
But they would say like, oh, but that's for another story, and then they would say goodbye.
Oh no, that was the Friendly Giant.
The Friendly Giant. Oh, thank you, BJ. All right, so that was the Friendly Giant.
Okay.
Well, that is for another story.
All right. See y'all.
Bye.
Bye.